Hi everyone. Today I want to share a little trick for creating fully parametric custom bezels in matrixgold. So as you can see here, and I'm sure you're familiar with, matrixgold has really good, great commands for creating parametric heads and bezels and whatever else. And they work beautifully in most instances, but on occasion I find that I may need to create a bezel or an undergallery that I need a little more refined control over, or I may want a solid block to cut into, and or I may want something that tapers in one direction but not another direction. And the head builder has the most involved controls in terms of the angle of the gallery rail and the taper, but you do kind of hit some limitations if you want something very specific. So I'm going to be using the gem cutter tool to make some custom bezels, and it's pretty easy. I'm just going to walk you through it, but these are all examples where I have used the gem cutter not only to cut out the inside of my bezels, but to create the whole bezel itself, as well as, in this instance, I used it to create these plates. And you can see on the bottom, just, multiple examples of instances where I had to taper in one direction, but not another, or I may have just hit the limitation of what these setting commands can do. So I guess then let's just get started. All right, I'm going to move these. I'll keep them around just maybe for reference, but I'm going to slide them over. So the first thing I'm going to do is create a tool that you can save to a folder, like a collections folder, and then it's just in there, and you don't have to recreate it every time. So I'm going to first just create a gem. Round is fine. And now I'm going to come up here to cutters, and I'm going to use gem cutter. I'm going to select this gem. Okay. So you may know here in the kebab menu you can save different styles, or you can style save, but I think it's easier actually just to create this and then make like a folder in your collections that's specifically for custom bezels or whatever. So okay, so I'm going to just skip past this cutter tab, and I'm going to open up the Azure tab, and I'm going to go from the front view. So I'm sure you're all totally familiar with this tool, and I mainly use it for what its intended purpose is, but occasionally it's really great for making like a totally parametric solid extrusion that you can use really for anything. In this case, bezels or undergalleries, and it just takes a little bit of thinking about how you want to change these commands to make that happen. So so basically the offset is I'm going to determine by filling information at the girdle, the table, and the top. I can't zero these out totally. I really only need kind of one offset and height, but so I'm going to just go down this list of commands, or sorry, this list of parameters, and then I'll just describe what I'm doing. Okay, so I'm going to start at the top. Placement is fine. I'm going to make the offsets all 1 for now. So I'm going to make them the same in both the Y and the X direction. The top length I'm going to make 0.01, and I'm going to keep rotation at 0. I'm going to make the table offset 1 in both directions. I'm also going to make this length 0, almost 0, and keep the rotation 0. And then girdle offset is just the same. And I'm going to make this 1. All right, and now you can actually well, first I'm going to make my seat length, I'm going to make my seat offset 0.5, just for fun, and then I'm going to make my length of my seat quite long, because this is going to be the basic, body of the bezel or the under bezel. So I'm going to make it 2. I'm going to overdo it. And then you can actually zero these out. This whole area gets kind of lopped off by the ring rail anyway, so I'm just going to make these all 0. Okay, so that looks good. Before I leave, I'm going to change the name. I'm going to call it Custom Bezel. Okay, and I'm just going to right click to accept that. And now from perspective, I'm going to put this on purple. And I can just delete my gem. I don't need that. Doesn't matter if I broke the history there. It still has the parameters intact. And I'm just going to quickly hide these. And now I'm going to select this, and I'm going to right click right on my folder. As you can see, I'll open up the collections tab, and then I'm going to just, I've selected my bezel, so I'm just going to say save to collections. And I've already created a folder in my collections called cutters as seats. So I'm going to just save it in here. And I'm just going to call it custom bezel. Whoop. And save. Okay, now I can close this. And I can just delete this. I'll be using it again, but just to show you the process of bringing it back in. I will delete it now. Okay, so I'm going to bring these back. So I'm going to be making a ring with kind of like this one with 3 bezels, but I'm sure after watching this you'll be able to see that you can change the parameters of the gem cutter to kind of create any type of seat or under bezel. Okay, so first I'm going to create a ring rail. And I'm just going to right click to accept that. Whoops. Alright, so I'm going to create 2 gems now, one in the middle and one side, and I'll just use mirror to create the side gem on the other side. So I'm going to say gems, and whoops, gem on ring rail. I think I'll make this one a pair. Why not? And you know what? I'm going to just hide these for now because they're affecting my zoom. Okay. Let's open this back up. Going to just rotate it 180 degrees. And the size is fine. You can always change that. Everything else looks good. I'm going to just rename it. Center. Alright, and then I'm going to just run that command again. Gem on ring rail. And I'm going to slide it over. I really like designing parametrically because actually it's kind of like sketching. I like that you can keep moving things around until the very last minute because sometimes I don't really know how something is going to look, and you know, it's almost faster than sketching sometimes. Okay, so I'm going to just rotate this one 90 or 270, and I'm going to bring the size down, maybe like that. And then I think I'll just bring it a little closer, maybe like that. Let's look from the top. Maybe too close. Alright, and I'm going to rename this one side. Okay. So now, and actually, you know what? I'm going to make a outside ring rail. Maybe I'll use this one. And pull it up like that. That's fine. Okay, so now I'm going to bring that custom bezel back in. So I'm just going to right click again on collections. I'm going to make sure this is selected just by left clicking once. If you double click, you will open the file where this custom bezel is, and that's not what you want to do. You just want to import this one piece. So I'm going to say import. Okay, and at this point, this file has taken on this name custom bezel, so you probably just want to save it as whatever you're going to save it as. Okay, so I'm going to rename this center, and all I have to do is open up the edit window, and then I'm just going to select this as my gem, and it'll just pop right up there. And then I'm going to just select it, and I'm going to use Control Copy, Control Paste to make another one of those instead of importing it again. And I'm going to edit it, and I'm just going to change this name to side. Okay. Alright, so now you have your two bezels, and at this point I want to bring them outside the girdle by about 0.5 millimeter all the way around. And this is the only part of this that just takes a little extra thought and finesse. So I'm going to open my custom bezel parameters, and I'm going to open Azure. So unlike the parametric bezel command, the thickness outside the girdle, as you probably already know, is based on a percentage, an offset percentage. So, you know, unlike the bezel maker where you can just say I want my walls to be 0.5, you just have to figure out what percentage will equal 0.5. So all you have to know really is how much, well, the dimensions of your stone, and then how thick you want your walls to be. Okay, so I'm just going to click the center stone. So it's 8.5 by 5.5. So I want my bezel walls to be, you know, the outside measurement to be 9.5 by 6.5. So let's just open up the custom bezel parameters again. Okay, so all you have to do to find that offset, and it's going to be different in either direction because it's not a circle. So I'm going to just open up my calculator, and I'm going to first figure out the length dimension by saying 9.5 divided by 8.5, and that's 1.17, or I'm just going to round up to 1.12. And then I know that I want my width to be 6.5 divided by 5.5. So that's 1.18. All right, so now I have those two numbers. I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to just enter them into these parameter boxes here. So I know the x dimension is 1.18. and 1.12, and I'm going to keep those things the same. I'm going to just go down the list here, whoops, and I'm actually going to change the table length here. I want my bezel to be about 0.8, so you know, depending on what you're doing, if you want to make a rendering or you're just going straight to manufacturing, this is going to be your bezel height, your table length. So I'm going to make it 0.8. And then for my girdle offset, I'm just going to enter those same values, and that looks good. So let's just look from the front and make sure that's in the right place. Yep, it's lined up nicely with the girdle. You have your bezel coming up about 0.8. Okay, and then so we'll just do that same thing here for this guy, so let's just remind ourselves of the measurements. So that's 5 by 3, so we want our bezel to be roughly 6 by 4. So let's get those numbers. So I'm going to say 6 divided by 5 is 1.2, and 4 divided by 3 is 1.33. Okay, so now I'm going to open up my side parameters and just do the same thing here. So I'm going to say, oops. But I think the measurements are reversed here, because remember I rotated this stone, so this is going to be the y offset. So I'm going to start with that 1.2 value. Did I get that right? No, I got it reversed. 1.33, 1.2, and same thing here. And I'm going to make my table length 0.8 as well. With a round stone or something that is more or less symmetrical, you'll just be using the same value for both. But you know, in this case, we just need one for each dimension. Okay, and then it looks, I'm going to make this seat length just a little longer to make sure that if I move or raise this stone, it's still going to intersect with the ring rail. All right, so now here is where the beauty of this method, because depending on how you want this to be, you can now taper this bezel in any way that suits your design. So I think I'm going to just bring it this way a little bit, and I don't want it to taper at the bottom. I'm going to bring it so that it's basically straight like that. All right, and then I'm just going to press enter, and then you can do the same thing for the bottom controls here. I think I want to bring it out a little so it meets this bezel nicely, but then I don't really want to make it wider. In fact, I think I'm going to make it a little squatter. All right. And you know, just depending on how these intersect, you may want to change things around. I'm going to tilt my side stone just a little bit. I want it to follow the angle of the ring rail just a little bit more, so that looks good. Okay, so I like that a lot. I'm just gonna now make a profile. So I often just make my profiles custom right in my viewport. I do like having a profile library, but I just feel like sometimes it's faster just to make it right as you're about to apply it. So I have an alias for circle, and it's just C, and it creates a deformable circle with 12 points as the default, which I really like. This is my favorite shape to work with. I'm just going to turn my control points on. I really like 12 points because it's a really manageable number. It's really easy to edit these to quickly create a shape that you like. I always know where my seam is. It's a predictable number of points, so I can copy this shape if I want to, you know, transition to a different one. Anyway, it's just my preference. So I'm going to just pull these out, and I'm going to pull these out a little bit too. All right, and now I'm going to move it to the center, and I'll just shrink it a bit. Oh. Okay, so now I'm going to use this as my profile. Profile placer. And I'm just going to select my outside ring rail, and I'm going to open this up, profile editor here, and I'm just going to select this and then use delete to get rid of it and grab my new profile, and then I'm going to swing it around here, and then I'm going to make two more using mirror up here. Let's see how they look. It's okay. Yeah, I think that's just fine. Sorry to be swinging this around so wildly. I'm going to not spend a ton of time here. You can refine these parameters as you see fit. Okay, but I'm going to just use the sweep command to create my shank. All right. Okay, so now I need to actually use gem cutter just the way that you would normally. I'm going to make a different cutter for each stone as the taper is different on each stone, so I don't want to do them both at the same time. So I'm going to call this one side. And I'm going to make one more, call this one center. Okay, so we'll start. I'm going to just refine the parameters for this one here. Well, actually, I'm going to go back to cutter. Usually you can just affect both offset directions right here in the cutter tab, which seems to work just fine here. So now I'm going to open this up, and from the front, I'm going to just bring the seat up and out. Let's look from the side. And I'm going to just try and match my taper at the bottom. Okay. And now I'm going to edit this one. I'm going to bring my top length down and in. I'm going to bring my table length to 0.5 or maybe 0.8 to match my bezel. That looks pretty good. I want to just excuse me, undercut this a little bit. Okay. So now I'm going to just mirror this and the stone across. All right. And now I'm going to just use a Boolean difference. I'm going to select my shank because I kind of want, oh, I have to change that, but I kind of want to make sure that any shank that is coming inside the bezel gets cut too, so I'm going to just select all the purple and the green. Oops, wait a minute. I'm going to select purple and this, and then all the orange. Okay, there we go. And now I'm just going to cut. These are just my quick commands. I have customized these, so cut to ring rail I have down here. So I'm just gonna select my bezels. I'm holding Control Shift here to do that. Oops, wait a minute. All right, and I'm gonna select these. There we go. Okay, so I need to edit this seat a little bit, but basically that's all there is to it. One of the things I really like about this method is that you get a nice, perfectly straight bezel wall. I work with a lot of people that really want that wall extruding from the girdle to be totally perpendicular to the table of their stone, and this is a really great way to do that. Usually I make the dome on a bezel 0 and then I have to extrude my own surface. So this allows for a lot of flexibility there. Okay, I'm just going to change this I'm going to bring it a little bit further. Okay, that's good. And then let's just update this cutter from the right. I'm going to do this from perspective. Sorry, I'm sure this is really hard to see, but I'm just changing the parameters here to reflect the seat that I want. Okay, that looks better. Okay. And so finally you can, you know, I might, before cutting these out, I might Boolean these seats together. In fact, you know what? I'm going to just do that. So let's open them back up. I'm going to just bring this back. And, oh, okay. I'm having some issues with things jumping layers. I don't know if anyone else is also. It's pretty annoying. Okay. Show. Okay. All right, so just ignore that these are light green. I can't explain that. Okay, so I'm going to just Boolean the bezels together first. So I'm going to use Boolean union. I think this just makes a cleaner finished product. Okay, and I'm going to hold Control Shift to grab that. All right, and now I'm going to do my Boolean difference. I'm going to select both my shank and my union. So I'm going to grab this, and then I'm going to just use these. Okay, that's better. I'm still cutting away my shank, but this way I've got a nice clean object here. And then I'm going to just cut these all up. I'm going to hold Control Shift again. Okay, yeah, I like that better. Okay, so, and now if you want, you know, you can create some little windows here, so I'll just do that quickly. Let's see, I'm going to use this guy, and this is kind of why I like this 12 point, oops. I'm going to hold Alt to just make a duplicate, and then from the front, you can kind of just bring this up here, and I'm going to turn on my control points. I'm going to bring this one and this one down, and maybe these two, and I'll bring these in. Okay. Oh, maybe I need to make this more extreme. I'm holding Alt so that I only window select what I'm after here, which is the control points. It's a nice trick. Okay, and then I may be able to just make this. Okay. And now I'm just going to hold Alt to make a duplicate. I'm going to bring this here. Actually, you know what? I'm going to do that a different way. I'm going to use Rotate. And I'm going to say copy yes. I'm going to start in the center and just bring this over here. That way it's somewhat roughly has the same kind of arc. All right. Turn on my points and just quickly edit these. This is like super rough, but I'm trying to go fast so you don't have to sit through a lot of clickety clicking. And I'll just maybe, now I'm going to change the orientation of the gumball to object. And again, this is like super flexible, so if you make a cut using this shape, you can always change the shape something you prefer. Okay, let's just see how that looks. All right, so now I'm going to just mirror this across. And I'm going to select these, but not the stone. And I'm going to extrude. And make sure both sides like that. And then I'm just going to use a Boolean. Oh. I'm going to select my first surfaces and then my second. There we go. Okay, so that's just a quick and easy way to get a little, some cutouts. And again, you can always edit this curve if you, or whichever, whatever. You can open it up, or but I do like creating in this way because it's just as opposed to like making bezels and then having to fill them to be solid, and I don't know, it just makes a really clean product if you're, or the end result is really clean if you're going to be making little cuts like this or anything else for that matter. It just it's really clean in the end, as you can see. And it's still super editable. You can move anything around. So of course, like if you decide your side stone is too close or too far, you can nudge it a little bit, and it's just gonna update. We can even, I think I probably wouldn't create cutouts on a pear like this without putting some kind of supporting piece here, but you can just go ahead and change the center too. Let's see, we'll make it a cushion. So it updates really fast. And then, we're back to this situation where you may want to taper it differently. So you may like the taper this way, but not this, not this way. So you can just open up your custom thing here and taper it a little bit more like this. You probably have to update your gem cutters, or if these now are too wide, you can also bring those in. Just a bit. Something like that. It's just very flexible and super quick. So now if we just reflect upon these other ones, where are they? You can kind of see how any of these other settings were made. So I just, instead of bringing the bezel outside the edges of the girdle, these are just, the offset is 1 here, and that's how you create an under bezel, and yeah, so on and so forth, blah blah blah. So I hope this was helpful, and that you use it to create something